Alright guys, welcome back, and we have more reveals over here, and Bandai really gave us SS4 Gogeta, man. If you guys took a look today on Facebook, you'll see that they revealed the full archetype for SS4 Son Goku and Vegeta, awakening into SS4 Gogeta. Strongest fusion explosion. There's so much to review here, guys. Oh my god, there's so much to look at. So, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys want to know how we do these videos, we basically go over the reveals and explain the archetype and break down these cards, see how viable the deck is overall, and just look at some synergy cards that were revealed in the past sets that actually might work with this leader over here. Um, Needless to say, that's just the gist of it, and let's just get into the video. So, right off the bat, we have a yellow SS4 Son Goku and SS4 Vegeta leader. Now, whenever Bandai does Gogeta, they tend to break the game a little bit, and this leader does break the game a little bit, so we'll go over that. So right off the bat, let's take a look at this permanent over here. Reduce the combo cost by 1 and negate the energy exhaust skill of multicolor pan cards and multicolor battle cards with GT in their character names in all of your areas. So basically what this leader does is it basically says you can charge multicolor and it'll come in untapped as long as it's a multicolor pan or multicolor GT battle card. So right off the bat it reads super strong, and you'll see that the focus of this deck is it's sort of a multicolor deck. It's a rainbow deck, right? When you think of rainbow decks, you know, Prismatic Bardock is one of the few decks that comes into mind. That's like a fully rainbow deck, right? Where you run a bunch of colors and then each color grants you certain effects. It's similar in that meaning, similar in that regard. Auto, when this card attacks, you draw one first, then you have the chance or the choice to add up to one card from your life to your hand. So the leader does offer Self Awakening on swing, and then you have an Awakening. When your life is at 4 or less, you switch up to one of your energy to active mode, place up to one No Challenge for the Strong from your Z deck in your battle area. So basically you untap one and you play your Z extra, right? You don't draw, and there's no alternative awakening for this leader. You have to be at 4 life. So I guess it's safe to say Bandai's trying to nerf this leader just a little bit, right? If we take a look at the last time we had a SS4 Son Goku and Vegeta leader, it was during the red archetype. I forget what set it was, but it was Red Sin Shenron, the Wish, the cracked Dragon Balls, and then we also had the red SS4 Goku and Vegeta, and both those decks ended up getting banned. Yeah, they saw significant heavy hits into a straight up full ban, right? And both those decks are now banned because they were just so powerful, so generic, so good. So, and both those decks had early awakening. They could both awaken basically turn 2, right? So maybe this is Bandai hopefully learning from the past and trying to just nerf this a little bit by saying, hey, look, you know what? You have to be at 4 life to awaken. We're not going to give you the awaken side that easily, but let's get on to the awaken side, right? So awaken at 4, permanent. And this is what I mean by breaking the game. So let's read this permanent. When activating the keyword skills Successor, Alliance, Aegis, or Revive on all your cards with GT in their character names in all of your areas, any multicolor cards can fulfill any color related skill condition for these skills. What does that mean? Well, that basically means, for example, if I have a red and a green 8 drop on board, I can Successor by giving up that red and green 8 drop to go into a yellow and green GT card, right? As long as it has GT in its character name. Even though it didn't fully meet the color restrictions, this leader's permanent gets over that, right? Same with Revive. Revive is usually a keyword skill that's used by pitching a card which matches the same colors as the card with Revive. So let's say if my Revive card has blue and green as the color, normally I'd have to pitch a blue and green to activate that keyword skill. In this case, I can pitch a red and yellow to use Revive. Why? Because this leader's permanent states so. So huge, it's incredible. So Aegis, Alliance, Revive, all those, it's absolutely insane. So Alliance basically says I can switch any of my multicolor, GT cards in their character names, even if they don't match the color of the card using Alliance, right? So this is basically a toolbox deck that revolves around these skills and then some, right? So we'll look at them. auto when this card attacks, or when a card in your hand or battle area is placed in your drop by a keyword skill on a multicolor card with GT in its character name in all of your areas, draw one card, right? So really, really cool. This is not once per turn. So for example, when you activate the successor skill by successoring with 2 4 drops into an 8 drop, because you placed 2 cards in your battle area into your drop with a keyword skill, which in this case was successor, and let's say that the card you've played was a multicolored GT card in its name, because you successor 2 battle cards, you would essentially draw 2 cards. You would practice twice. Draw 1 card the first time, and then draw a second card the second time, right? And that'll work for most of these skills. So it'll also work for Alliance and Aegis and Revive. So let's say you pitch a card with Revive, you would actually draw as long as the Revive was activated by a character that has GT in its name and it was multicolored, right? So this basically is a heavy archetype deck, and this could sound a little confusing. We'll review it, so don't worry. That's the point of this video, is to go over this stuff. First card we have is an SR, Son Goku Ultimate Spirit Bomb. I wonder if they'll make an SPR of this. I can't wait to see how it looks. Spirit Bomb cards always look great. Energy Exhaust. Remember, your leader ignores Energy Exhaust over here. Deflect and Double Strike. Deflect is really good, and an offensive keyword skill, Double Strike. Already it's great. SR 20k. Let's see how we play this. Activate main, limit 1 for 2 any energy, as long as your leader is green or a Gogeta GT card, right? And you have 3 or more energy, you can simply just play this card from your hand. So for 2 energy, you play this card from your hand. It's Deflect, Double Strike. It has Alliance, red and green. For you guys that don't know what Alliance does, luckily they've summed up the keyword skill right next to it. This card gains power equal to the total power of the cards switched to rest mode by the skill for the battle. So you can switch anyone you want to, because this is a multicolor GT, so as long as you switch them, you'll be fine, right? Additionally, you may discard 1 card from your hand. If you do, draw 2 cards, then choose all of your opponent's battle cards with power less than or equal to this card's power and KO them. So basically the way this works is very simple. You play the card, you swing with it. You would activate Alliance over here. And luckily this card says if you activate Alliance on deck, Goku, character names in all of your areas, right? Any multicolor cards can fulfill any color related skill condition. So you can tap as many multicolor cards as you wanted to, or red or green cards, right? You can gain their power, so Alliance gains that power. So let's say you switch 2 15Ks to rest mode, you would essentially gain 15 plus 15, you would be gaining 30k, right? So now you'd be 50, you'd KO, you'd resolve this auto. So you would pitch 1, you would draw 2 cards off this, then your leader skill, your auto would go into pending. Since you pitched 1 in order to use this Alliance over here, and this is a multicolor GT, you're going to actually draw another card over here. So essentially this reads as discard 1 card, draw 3 cards, choose all your opponent's battle cards, power less than or equal to this card's card power, KO all of them. So very powerful board wipe, a double striker. It has deflect, so it's hitting the board. And then you also have the option to pitch 1 and draw 3. It's sick. This card is absolutely amazing. It's insane. Red and green is a cool color combination, and Alliance is one of those keyword skills that just goes great with it. Let's move on to the next card. Vegeta Final Battle. We have a blue-green over here. We have the keyword skill Revive, right? So the Revive blue-green, activate main / battle. Limit 1 for 1 any energy. If your leader's backside is a yellow Gogeta GT card, and you have a total of 2 or more multicolor pan or multicolor cards with GT and their character names in your energy, play this card from your hand. So on either your opponent's turn or on either your turn, as long as you have 2 or more multicolor energies, you can essentially play the Vegeta for 1. He has Revive. Revive is a keyword skill that basically states when this card is KO'd. When it's KO'd, period. So whether it's KO'd by your effect or whether it's KO'd by your opponent's effect, right? You can use this specific Revive skill once per turn. When this card is KO'd, Revive basically says you pitch a card equaling the colors of this card and then play this card from your drop area back onto your board in active mode. The great thing is for Revive, even though this states it has to be blue-green, your leader's permanent will override it, so you can actually pitch a red-green or a blue-yellow for this, or whatever the case is, right? So that's the override permanent for your Gogeta leader. Activate main, limit one, switch this card to rest mode. Look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck. Add any pan or card with GT in his character name, as long as they have an energy cost of 4 or 8 to your hand, then shuffle your deck. They don't state multicolor. This basically states any pan or any GT card, as long as they have energy cost of 4 or 8. And this activate main is limit 1 only on your turn. So this is basically an searcher, a turn 2 searcher for the deck that works at revive. So pretty cool. Here we have another SR. I mean, this card is busted, man. 35k, 8 drop, SS4 Gogeta versus Omega Shenron. Clash with Ultimate Evil. I can't wait to see the SPR for this. This is going to look sick. Energy Exhaust, blocker, successor for 1 any. This is incredible. So, successor is a keyword skill that works. You have to give up battle cards in your battle area. They have to be placed into the drop as long as they match the same color as the card that's being successor. So in this case, it's almost always green and yellow. So as long as they match green and yellow and their energy cost equals exactly 8, you can place them into their card, pay this successor cost, and then play this bad boy, right? Luckily, your leader basically just ignores the cost for successor, the cost stating that the color has to be green or yellow. It just says it could be anything, so that's amazing. And it's 1 energy. There's no restriction on when you can play this. 35k blocker, so you can play it turn 1 as long as you meet this cost, right? Or turn 2, or whatever the case is. Let's take a look at the auto now. Auto limit 1, so limit 1 means you can only activate it once. If your leader is if your leader is green or yellow, right? So this works in all green and all yellow. And your opponent has 3 or more energy. So even though you can play this for 1 any turn, your auto will only proc if your opponent has 3 or more energy. When this card is played, choose one. You choose the first one, which says your opponent discards 2 cards from their hand. This card gains double strike for the turn. 35k double strike, your opponent pitches 2. 1 energy blocker. That's insane. Second effect, choose up to 2 of your opponent's rest mode battle cards, ignoring barrier, and KO them. Then this card gains dual attack for the turn. So this is just a 1 energy wipe 2 cards, ignoring barrier in rest mode. And then this card becomes a dual attacker. It's also a blocker, and this actually has the character traits of Gogeta and Sin Shenron. So all you yellow Shadow Dragon fans out there, you can play this in yellow Sin Shenron, especially because it's able to just get those 8 drops out so easily, and then restand this guy at the end of the turn because technically he is a Shadow Dragon as well as a Saiyan. This card is pretty much, you can run this in any green deck or any yellow deck. Card's absolutely busted. Yes, to get this auto, your opponent needs to have 3 or more energy. Understandable, but man, it's good. It's amazing. And remember, your leader on your unawakened side reduces the combo cost by 1. This is a free 10k combo. Really cool. Here we have a cantrip, Sun Goten supporting the fight. This should be permanent. It's missing, we know. If you have the Trunks GT card, if you have a Trunks GT card in play, this card gains blocker. For 1 yellow, when it's played, look at the top 5 cards. Add up to 1 card with the energy cost of 4 or 8 and GT in his character name to your hand. So you can add any card with energy cost of 4 or 8 as long as it has GT. It doesn't have to be multicolored, could be multicolored, could be that or not, right? Up to you. Pan, support for her grandfather. This card is insane. Cantrip for 1 blue. When this card is played, draw 1. And then take a look at its activate main. Limit 1, you tap any energy. If your leader's backside is SS4 Gogeta, strongest fusion explosion, and you have a multicolor battle card with an energy cost of 8 in play, add up to 1 pan card or card with GT in its card name, both multicolor. So whether you choose the pan or whether you choose the card in GT, they have to be multicolored. But you basically add it from your hand into your energy and rest mode. This, yes, is a ramp card. It's basically an objection. Basically says, hey, tap 2 energy and just rent 1 from your hand. So this deck does it all. It really does it all, and on top of it, they gave it ramp. So pretty cool. And I mean, you can search pan with actually no, you can't search it. You can't search it with this because he only looks up to a card with GT, and pan is FGT. But you can search it off this Vegeta over here. So he searches for a pan or GT, and he doesn't state to have to be multicolored. So the pan is searchable off the Vegeta. So we reviewed the pan over here. Next card over. No challenge for the strong. This is a Z extra. Remember, your leader plays it for free when you're Z awakened. Permanent. If your leader is a yellow Gogeta GT card, reduce the combo cost by 1. Negate the energy exhaust skill of multicolored pan cards and multicolored battle cards with GT in their character names in all areas. This is basically just summarizing your leader's first effect, first permanent over here. Remember, when you awaken, you play the Z extra for free, but your leader doesn't have the energy exhaust negating skill, right? Or the reducing the combo cost skill. You only have that on your unawakened side. So he plays the Z extra that gives you that effect. So pretty cool, right? And then he also has a secondary effect. Auto, remove this card from the game. That's the cost. When an opponent's card attacks a Gogeta GT card. So it could be a Gogeta GT battle card, or it could be your Gogeta GT leader. So when your opponent's card attacks your Gogeta GT card, your leader doesn't take damage, and your Gogeta GT card can't be KO'd for the battle. So let's say, for example, they said, you know what, I'm going to attack your leader. By the way, this is not activate battle step, so it's not like a final flash. You know, so if you're thinking, oh my god, this card is insane, I can just dump my hand and my opponent will just negate it. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to declare this when an opponent's card attacks a Gogeta GT. So as soon as they declare a swing on your leader, right, that's when you would pay the cost. They would resolve their autos, and you would resolve your auto by removing this card from the game and then resolving this effect over here. Quickly, if we review over here, this is a Gogeta GT card. This is also a Gogeta GT card. So you can trigger it on this and protect your Gogeta GT in battle so they can make it to next turn, right? The great thing about this card is that it's not limit 1 or anything like that. So as soon as this card is gone, you can just go ahead and play another one from your Z deck on your turn, right? But the turn it's gone, you have to understand you won't have this permanent. So definitely something to take into consideration. It's a really cool card. It basically just protects you from one swing, right? Sort of like a negate in of itself, right? So just use it carefully and you'll be set. Last but not least, we have the super combo. We've been getting these archetypes, these specific super combos from all the archetypes. And for yellow, we have this Hercule over here. This is not the super combo for the deck unless all your energy is yellow. So let's say, for example, you decide, you know what? I'm going to charge this Vegeta. It'll come in untapped. So I'm going to charge this Vegeta, so now I have access to Senzu Bean. That's great, but you just locked yourself out of this super combo over here, right? So definitely something to consider. Super combo, if your leader is yellow, all your energy is yellow. And then if you have 2 or more Z energy, when it's used in a combo, you gain 10k combo power. And then additionally, you may place 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. And then if you do, you draw 2 cards, right? Cool super combo for other yellow decks, but probably not the super combo for this deck. Unless you're running a full yellow only version, which, I mean, you can, but then you can't run this guy. You can't charge this guy. You can't charge this guy. And you can't charge Pan either, so you have to make sure the cards you charge, right? Let's take a look at the part 2 reveals over here. Right off the bat, we have another SR. This is a blue and green SS4 Gogeta. Wild Power of Justice, Energy Exhaust, and Blocker. It is an 8-drop 30k. Revive, blue-green. If your leader's backside is a yellow Gogeta GT card. So if we quickly take a look at this, we see that this Revive, blue-green, is locked only to your yellow Gogeta GT leader. So you can play this Vegeta in other decks. You just can't use this Revive. The Revive only works in this, right? Let's take a look at how this card is actually played itself. Activate main, activate battle /battle. So during your turn or your opponent's, limit 1 only once per that turn. For 1 any energy, if you have 2 or more multicolored cards in energy, so basically turn 2 if you want it, play this card from your hand. So it just flat out plays itself. It's a 30k and it's a blocker. So it makes sense to play it on your opponent's turn. You can block with it. And then it has a permanent. If you have a multicolored card in your energy, which you can have that live turn 1, reduce the combo cost of this card in your hand by 1. So this is really great. This basically says, hey, you know, this card is splashable in other decks. So in your deck, it's reduced anyways. But in other decks, for example, if you're running a Android 21, for example, you want to play this blue-green card, you certainly can. It'll just be a 0.5k blue-green card that you can use to rival off of. Activate main, limit 1, KO this card. Choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. This is great. So this is great because you can KO this and KO one of their cards. And in the Gogeta deck, after you KO it on your turn, you can actually use the Revive on your turn. So you can pitch a card, bring it back, and if you're awakened, the card that you pitched could be any color card, and the card you pitch will just be drawn back. So you just, after you pitch it, you draw another card, so it replaces itself. So really strong. I see why it deserves the SR spot. Really cool. So really nice. Son Gohan, Final Thug. This is for the Fortune Teller Baba deck. You guys can read it. Not really gonna review it, so we're gonna skip it for now. Funny though, they have all these cool cards. We just have like a Sun Gohan, Final Thug. I mean, it's like great. Unfortunately for you, Omega, we have a blue-red extra card. Before I read these extra cards, I want to read this card over here, right? So we're gonna do this in order. Pan Technique Preparation, a blue-red card reader. The reason why I want to read this card is because of this permanent over here. So if your leader is a yellow Gogeta GT card and it's your turn, so not on your opponent's turn, only if it's your turn, this card gains, that's right guys, Invoker. Alright, Invoker fans, this card's for you, man. So it only works if your leader is a Gogeta GT, but hence it's the way to use Invoker. So I know Invoker guys love their Invoker cards. Activate main in battle. Let's see how to play this. For limit 1, any energy, as long as you have a total of 3 or more multicolor pan cards or multicolor cards with GT in their character's name, so as early as turn 3 for you, if you went first, you can play this card from your hand. It's a 20k beat stick. As soon as it has no protection, but as soon as it comes in, if it hits the board, bam, Invoker is live, permanent. Then auto, when this card is played, add up to 1 all the Spirit in the Universe card from your deck to your hand, then shuffle your deck. Now we'll take a look at these Z extra cards. So this one gets added as soon as you play the pan. It's a red blue extra card. And remember, Invoker is a skill that states you should only need to tap 1 red or blue energy, right? So pretty cool. Remember, our leader over here, when activating these skills over here, Successor, Alliance, Aegis, or Revive, you can use any colored multicolor cards to fulfill. But out of these keyword skills, Invoker is not there. So we still have to pay the red-blue card to use red-blue energy to use the skill for Invoker. Anyways, let's get on to it. Permanent, if your leader is a yellow Gogeta GT card, negate this card's energy exhaust skill in all areas. So let's say, for example, you've procced that field card, the Z extra card that we looked at right over here, and now it's going on to your turn. You don't have a card to charge in to come untapped. This is a great card. You could just charge this, right? Activate main, limit 1. Choose up to 1 of your multicolor Son Goku GT cards. It gets plus 10k power for the turn for each color type on all cards in your energy and battle area. And that card's attack can't be negated for the turn. So it'll choose any multicolor Son Goku GT cards, and it gets 10k power for the turn for each color type. So for example, red and green would be a color type. Blue, yellow would be a color type. I think mono blue would also be a color type. So it'll gain the power, and then that card, right? That card's attack won't be able to be negated. So like for example, you can pair it with this Spirit Bomb Goku over here, right? So he'll gain a certain number of power, and then when he swings, you can't negate it, so you're guaranteed to at least get this alliance off over here. Pretty cool, right? Really neat. The pan adds this, and then you can use it if you have a Goku on play. So it's on lore, it's on theme, right? I don't know how much play the card will actually see, but if you can pull it off, man, it's going for game. Unfortunately for you, Omega, this is another blue-red extra card. It costs 3, but with Invoker, we only need to pay 1 red and blue. Activate main, limit 1. Draw 1 card, then choose all your opponent's leader and all of their battle cards, and those cards basically those cards lose 5k power for the turn. So they're really cool. You can tap 1, it'll replace itself, so you'll draw 1, and then you'll choose all their guys and minus 5k. It's neat, it's cute. I don't know how much play it'll actually see, but it's cool. As another effect, activate main. If your leader is a yellow Gogeta GT card, right? So this only works when we're awakened, and you send this card from your drop to your warp. So this actually takes effect inside your drop. And you discard 1 Son Goku GT card and 1 Vegeta GT card from your hand. Add up to 1 multicolor Gogeta GT card with an energy cost of 8 from your deck to your hand, then shuffle your deck. So basically, if this card is inside of your drop, you can warp it, discard a Goku and a Vegeta, and then add a Gogeta with a cost of 8. So this is a great way to search your boss monster, right? It's a little steep, right? So not only does this card have to be in your drop area, but you have to pitch 2 cards to add 1, right? But depending on the scenario, depending on the play, depending on the state of the board, this card could be really, really insane to see that 8-drop Gogeta to wipe the board or go for game. So I don't think this card is a staple, but it's a cool card, right? It fits the theme. Here we have a Z Unison. So a 1 cost, 1 specified Z Unison, 15k power, SSB Gogeta, hilarious, love it. Next level power up. As a blocker keyword skill, permanent. If this card has 2 or fewer markers on it, it cannot attack or activate the blocker skill. So in order to get this card's blocker and attacking skills, you need to have 3 or more markers on it, basically. Permanent, if you have a multicolor pan card or a multicolor battle card with GT in its character name in play, your opponent can't declare to attack this card. So basically, as long as you have one of those multicolor cards in play, then this card can't be attacked. So you'll be able to gain those markers and hopefully protect it. As soon as your opponent gets rid of those cards, they can actually attack it. So yeah, I guess it makes those revive cards a lot stronger, right? Auto, when your multicolor pan card or your multicolor card with GT in its character name is played, so this can be procced in either player's turn, right? Only once, because it's the uptick. Add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, and then your leader gets 5k power for the turn, essentially gets a bean for the turn. So let's say, for example, I play a battle card on your turn. I can give this card a marker. I can choose to take a life if I wanted to, and then I can give my leader 5k. And then I can do it on my turn again. So this is a way to +1 on both players' turn as long as you have activate battles to play them. And then as long as you have those guys in play, doesn't matter if they're in rest mode or not, as long as they're in play, your opponent just can't declare to attack this card. So really cool. Certain archetypes, certain decks have no problem, like green and red, for example. They're just minus this unison to death, or green will just remove markers with its skills. And other colors might have a little bit of a harder time to remove it. But overall, it's cute. It's a 1 energy Z 15k. I mean, if it sticks, it's going to be so plus, right? Pan, we reviewed this as the Invoker card. Super Saiyan Sun Goten, stunning combination. It's a blue-yellow card. This has blocker, but it also has, that's right, Aegis, blue-yellow, once per turn. Aegis is back. Auto, when this card is played, choose up to one of your opponent's rest mode battle cards. Can't be switched to active mode until the end of your opponent's turn. How do you play it? Well, you play for 1 energy, activate main or battle limit 1. So either your turn or your opponent's turn. As long as your leader backside is a yellow Gogeta GT. You have a total of 2 or more multicolor pan or GT cards. Or basically, if you have 2 or more energy, basically play this card from your hand. So let's say turn 2, tap 1, play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards. Rest mode battle cards can be switched to active. And then you can activate Aegis. Normally, Aegis, you'd have to pitch the color, so you'd have to pitch blue or yellow. But in this case, our leader just basically says, hey, you can activate Aegis with any color, as long as it's a multicolor GT card or whatever the case is, which it is. Most of our deck will be. It'll proc. And he's a blocker, so he's pretty much insane. So he's one of the ways to trigger the +1 on your Z Unison on your opponent's turn. Activate battle, play him, get a marker. And we know how strong Aegis is. I mean, it's insanely strong. Other one is a Trunks. That's right. Super Saiyan Trunks stunning combination. This is a blue-yellow card. This card also has Aegis once per turn. This card is played the same way, activate main or battle, so during your turn or your opponent's turn, and as long as your leader is a yellow Gogeta leaders, and you have 2 or more energy, or 2 or more multicolor cards, basically, which in this deck you'd want to charge that. So as long as you have 2 or more, then you can play this card for 1, and this card has Aegis blue-yellow, so this card can also Aegis. He also has an auto. When this card is played, choose up to one of your opponent battle cards and negate its skills for the turn. This is basically a mini Final Flash built in. I say mini because it doesn't ignore barrier like Final Flash does. This card is insane because your opponent can just hold in on a triple strike, and as long as they don't counterplay this card and you play it, you'll negate that guy's skills. So really good. And then let's say you tap out to play this. If he successfully hits board, you can activate Aegis to untap too. And then if you do use Aegis, your leader will draw one because remember, you discarded a card off the multicolor effect. So really good. Nice to see Aegis come back. Last time we had Aegis was, I believe we had the Arrival Bojack, which got banned. So hopefully these guys don't get banned. I guess we'll see how powerful Aegis is in this deck, right? Last but not least, we have 2 more cards. These are red-yellow cards, right? You thought there'd be no red-yellow. Nope, there is. And guess what? Red-yellow is Offering. So Offering is Spirit Boost 1. Permanent, you can't place cards on top of his card. So you can't chip a flash, you can't EX Evolve over it, which makes sense. You play it for 1 energy. As long as your leader is the Gogeta and you have 2 or more energy, you can tap 1, play an 8 cost 30k that you can swing the 30k and successor into an 8 drop 4, or I mean, it's crazy, right? And then on play, so whether you play it on your turn or your opponent's turn, it has offering. So it basically says, hey, let me draw 2, or you crit a life. And your opponent, especially if it's the middle late game, more than often they'll let you draw 2. So card's really good. Because it's an 8 cost, it's a little harder to counterplay, right? Can't really just absolute release ball this, right? So really cool. Last but not least, we have SS4 Gohan. SS4 Gohan Final Battle. This card also has offering, red, yellow. Same way you play it as everything else, except this one you only need 2 energy, like like most of them. So tap 1, activate main. This is only on your turn, so not on your opponent's turn, only on your turn. You play this, and then when it's played, you can trigger offerings. Your opponent has to either crit a life or let you draw 2. And then when this card is played, you choose any of your opponent's rest mode battle cards, and that card gains minus 20k power for the turn. Really strong, man. We have a 1 energy, minus 20k offering. The power over here is only 15, which is a little different than some of the other ones we have. But hey, man, I guess they had to balance the deck somehow. So already, man, I mean, this deck just reads insane. There's a huge problem with the deck. So we'll go on to the reveals, right? And there's a huge problem to the deck. The problem is that most of this stuff, this red, red or a red, yellow, or whatever the case is, all these rainbow colors, these decks like Prismatic, for example, they're such a heavy archetype deck, right? And what I mean by that, if we just review these cards over here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. On this account, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are 8 cards. Assuming we run a playset of all of these 8 cards, that's 32 cards right there. Obviously, you're not gonna run a playset of this card at all, right? You're not gonna run a playset of this. You're not gonna run a playset of this. But even for example, if we take a look at this guy over here, we have 1, we have 2, we have 3, we have. Let's say we don't count the cantrips, right? So that's 3 over there. That's another 3. If you're running 4 each of these cards, that's 12 more cards right there you have to throw in, right? And you have to run multicolor so you can get most of your effects off. The archetype is so big for this that it doesn't leave a lot of space for these tech cards or these synergistic cards. So there's not a lot. I'm going to be honest with you, there's not a lot. Yes, this deck is pretty much multicolor. Your leader is yellow, but you can essentially run so many different cards. You can run Sensu Bean because you can charge blue. You can run Kusu counterplay, right? You can run Zamasu the Eliminator counterplay. So there's so much stuff that you can run just because you have a red energy there, or a blue energy there, or a green energy there. That doesn't mean you should run it, and it doesn't mean you're going to have space for it because of how big this archetype is. Regardless, we'll just quickly review it. First thing is first is super combos. You got to understand we can't run the super combos that are available in this archetype. So mainly we can't run this Hercule because if we charge red or we charge green, then this card is dead. And we can't run Krillin because Krillin requires all your energy to be yellow as well. Luckily, we have 2 cards over here that can work in pretty nicely. One is just standard traditional Sparking 5, right? So if your leader is yellow and you have 5 or more cards in your drop, you draw one. It doesn't care about your life. It doesn't care about your energy. The other one is when your life is at 4 or less, you draw one. So there's so many of those. You can find them on DBS Deck Planner, who shout out to them. So you can find a lot of those. You just need to be at 4 life. The goal of the deck is to be at 4 life, so you're going to be at 4 life a lot. So that's also possible. The only reason I included these 2 is because these 2 are live if you're at higher than 4, right? These are alternative options today if you're at 4 life, draw 1, right? The other one is Shisami. If you guys don't know what this does, this is basically a super combo that's live as long as you have a yellow unison card in play. And it seems a yellow unison seems to be integral to this archetype. That Gogeta is really strong and there's protection built into it. I feel like you need it for this deck. So if that Gogeta sticks around, as long as that Gogeta is sticking around, this super combo is great. Worst case scenario is a 0 for 10, right? But if you guys are scared, you guys are worried, you can go with the Sparking 5, or if your life is 4 or less, right? Just want to make sure you'll have access to those. Some of the other archetype cards, let's take a look at this Secret Rare. So we haven't seen an SCR for this deck. We can run Pickelham, we can run Purunga, so on and so forth. But here's an archetype SCR that actually works quite well. So activate main for 3 any energy, which is great, right? Because we have all the colors anyways. But if you have 4 more energy, play this card from your hand, then play up to 4 pan cards or cards with GT in their character names, each with a different card name from among all the cards in your Z energy and drop skills negator for the turn. So basically this guy plays himself and then he plays 4 bodies on it. Yeah, their skills are negator for the game, but could you imagine playing like one of this guy, right? It says basically Pan or GT. Yeah. So one of this guy. So now you have a 35k attacker. You can play this guy. You have a 20k attacker. You can play the SS4 Vegeta, the 30k, the Goku, the 30k. So now you're attacking with like 3 different 30ks. I mean, it's pretty cool. And then you can successor with those guys. I so on and so forth. He also has a really neat auto when this card attacks for each of your pan cards and cards are GT and their character names, including this card. He gains 5k power, and then if his power becomes 70 from this skill, you choose all your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, KO all of them, and then you deal 1 damage. So basically, it says, hey, if you're at 1 life and I play this card and I get this card's power to 70k, I am killing you, unless they negated skills before attacks or something, whatever the case is. But it's a really neat card. Heavy archetype card. Luckily, you're running that heavy archetype in this deck. You're forced to, so this card maybe could see some play. I don't think it will, but it certainly can. The other benefit is that this card is searchable from this Vegeta. So this Vegeta adds a card with GT in its name. So this is GT in its name. It just has to be 4 or 8, and this is cost of 8. So it's searchable off this Vegeta. It's also searchable off this guy, right? So you have ways to search this SCR, and we know how strong searchable SCRs are. It always feels great. Yeah, it's a late game SCR, but hey, it's a neat SCR. The other card we want to take a quick look at is the Vermilion SS4 Vermilion Saiyans Secret Rare. This has a very nice synergy with the deck because you're charging all these different colors, excluding black for now. Right off the bat, you have 4 different colors, so you'll be able to proc warp at least 4 cards ignoring barrier, gain 5k. And with counter cooler being gone, this card has now a lot more benefit. It's 1 energy, but gaining 20k power and then warping 4 cards. It's not a baby hatch. It's basically acting like a baby hatch. It's saying to your opponent, okay, now I've gained 20k power. I'm a 35k leader. I've warped 4 of your cards. Let's see you push through this, right? And more often than not, they really can't. So really cool secret rare. It's not searchable, but it's really neat. Has very good synergy with the deck. You can run this. And then obviously you have Purunga and Piccolo and everything else. Those are other secret rares, but these are some neat ones too. Since we're a multicolor deck, we can actually run Master Roshi Masterly Majesty. So auto, choose 1 multicolor card in your energy, add it to your hand. Then when you combo, choose 1 card in your hand, place any energy in rest mode. So when you combo with this card, basically you're just swapping cards in your energy. This is great because let's say, for example, you charge this early game. So for example, you charge this bad boy early game, and now you want to see it later. You can combo, get the Z energy with Roshi, pick it up, and then play it next turn. It's also great because if you're running a heavier ramp engine with this pan over here, and let's say you hit this card and now you really need this card on your opponent's turn, or even on your turn when you swing, you can just combo, pick it up, and then use it there. So Roshi is really good. I don't see it being more than maybe a cool 1 of or 2 of because it's off archetype. It's a monocolor card, and having 4 of these in your hand, mid game would just be rough. But it's a cute 1 over 2 of, right? The card over here is Super Gallic Gun. I don't think this card is really that good, but hey, we can run it. We're yellow, we're life is 4 less, so we can get there. And then if we have a multicolor card, we can use a sparking to pay for it. Basically, the battle card that's being played is just played in rest mode. That's it. So let's say you're going for game, you swing, your opponent activates a token blocker, and you're like, damn it, I only have 1 energy and I want to play my 8-drop Gogeta to end it. You just be like, you know what, Super Gallic Gun, take a life, rest it, play the 8-drop Gogeta, go for game, right? So this is a really neat 1 of, or a really neat tech card over here you can run just to, get over that hump. I don't think you will run it, but you certainly can. And this is another really, janky card, really tech card. It's just pan over here. There's really no reason to run it, but because we'll almost always have a Son Goku or Trunks, and Trunks will probably won't have the 25k power or more, but because we'll have a Son Goku GT with 25k power or more, you can play this card for free, and then just buff one of your Son Goku GTs or your Trunks GT in a battle area by 5k. This card is also really good if you decide to go with the Secret Rare, right? Once you play those 4 cards, when you swing with this, you'll still be 5k short. that panel will get you that 5k over. So now you'll be 45. You'll gain 5k off your swing, and then if you played 4 guys, an additional 5k for each 4 of those guys. That'll put you right at that 70 mark, right? So if you decide to go with this engine, with this card, this pan could be a cool one of something like that. Once again, man, this deck doesn't have a lot of synergistic cards because you can run anything. You have a Unison, you can run Prideful Transformation, or if you don't have a Unison, let's say you have a Blue Energy, you can run Sensu Bean. I mean, people know that. People know they're gonna run cards like that. They're gonna run Giant Ball. They're gonna run cards like that. So don't really have to go into too much detail. This is a rainbow deck. It runs a lot. Archetype will be very heavy, so it's going to be interesting to see these spaces available. But I'll leave that up to you guys, for the deck building. Let's give this deck a grade, man. This deck is certainly not a flimsy deck. This deck is actually very strong. The upside is there. The problem is deck building, getting your deck count to a certain amount and being consistent in it, and then seeing those cards every single time and having a strategy to win. Building a deck that can do that, that's going to be the hard part for sure, right? The upside is there, but now you have to build into that upside. I'm going to give this deck a strong A rating. Definitely could be S rating. Definitely could be A plus or whatever other rating. But the upside is definitely there. I don't see its S because it is nerfed in certain ways. Archetype is massive. None of these guys over here, the Aegis and other guys over here are have protection. So, like for example, you tap out to play an Aegis guy, your opponent counter plays. Now you're tapped out. You have no way on tap. Right, so it's fair in that regard. Also, on your opponent's turn, most of the cards you play basically have 20k power or less. So Koetsukai does hurt this deck quite a bit, especially if your opponent's banking on that Aegis or if your opponent's banking on playing a blocker or something. You have to understand it could be a little bit tough to do that if your opponent has a Koetsukai. Now you have to warp 2 cards every time. And other than the offering guys, none of these guys really replace themselves on your opponent's turn if you play them. They don't draw one, right? So you got to understand you're taking a little bit of a loss there, especially once you Koetsukai, now you're going pretty minus in hand. So the deck doesn't seem like it'll have an overly excessive hand size, but I guess time will tell. Right now we're giving this an A rating. The deck is still super strong. Deck is super fun. It has immense potential, immense upside. Multicolor deck. It's a Gogeta deck. We know Bandai loves their Gogeta, so that's where it is. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, I really do appreciate it. Please, if you guys are interested in some more content, I guess we'll review the next archetype. Probably going to be Shadow Dragons. Leave a like, subscribe, and we'll, catch on to the next one. Peace.